what happens when a new network tries to build its own version of Married with Children. Out of the idea came a series about a miserable family and a father who talks to a stuffed rabbit, while the show itself kept on being reshaped during its run. So what really happened behind the scenes? Let's find out. This is the history of Unhappily Ever After.
No more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back.
The show began when WB executives wanted a new comedy sitcom for their new network, so they went to Ron Levitt and Arthur Silver, hoping the new series could become for them what Married with Children had been for Fox. So Levitt and Silver shaped the material as a cynical sitcom jokingly called Divorced with Children, about a deeply dysfunctional family in Los Angeles that also carried the style of a show being built to break the fourth wall and mock 80s and 90s American culture rather than playing like a straight family sitcom. The premise would center on Jack and Jenny Malloy and their 3 children, Ryan, Tiffany, and Ross. Then you had Mr. Floppy, who would be a foul-mouthed, sarcastic rabbit that only Jack could hear, and that idea gave the series its surreal twist. Once the network moved ahead with the series, the first big job was putting the Malloy family together. Jeff Pearson got the role of Jack Malloy, while Stephanie Hodge was cast as Jennifer. The series was initially written as a starring vehicle for Hodge, whose character Jennifer was the focus of the first few episodes. However, the series would soon turn its focus to Jack, who was kicked out of the house and ends up living in an apartment with his son's stuffed rabbit, who ends up becoming his talking imaginary friend, Mr. Floppy. From there, the rest of the family started taking shape around them, with Nikki Cox getting the role of Tiffany Malloy. The role of Ryan went to Kevin Connolly, and Justin Burfield got the role of Ross when he was only 8 years old. After that, attention turned to Mr. Floppy. Ron Levitt reportedly pushed for Bobcat Goldthwait after being impressed by his distinct cadence, even though he had originally auditioned for a different part. Eventually, he ended up becoming the voice of Mr. Floppy, while Alan Troutman handled the puppetry and also appeared on the show as Mr. Dunn. With the family in place, the wider cast started filling out around them. Joyce Van Patten came in as Maureen Slattery for the first 2 seasons. Later on, Wendy Benson first appeared in a recurring role during season 4 before joining the 5th as Barbara Caulfield. With the cast in place, the next piece was the music, and that came from Jonathan Wolfe and Paul Buckley. When the show first began, the main title used an original song sang by Goldthwait, built around Jack being kicked out by Jenny and ending up with Mr. Floppy. But beginning with the second season, the theme changed to Ray Charles's Hit the Road Jack, which fit the idea of Jenny throwing Jack out of the house. With the music in place, the next part was finding out whether the new show actually would connect with viewers.
Grab your present and then come home to the one who loves you. Not a sick kind of love like you're thinking, but a nice normal man bunny kind of thing.
When the series premiered in January 95, the early response was mostly negative. Critics quickly compared it to Married with Children, and some of the earliest reaction said it felt nearly indistinguishable from that show, only harsher and more venomous. The rabbit gimmick got attention right away, but it didn't turn the critical response around. On the ratings side of it, the numbers were modest from the beginning. The show began as a 13-episode mid-season launch, and even though its ratings stayed low by normal standards, it lasted because it kept performing better than most of the shows on the WB. On the other hand, audience reaction was mixed. Some viewers liked its rude humor and treated it as a cousin to Married with Children, but a lot of people thought it was simply too mean. As time went on, the critical judgment didn't really improve. The series picked up a reputation as one of the worst sitcoms of its era, and in 2002, TV Guide ranked it at number 30 on its list of the 50 worst TV shows. Even so, it kept a cult following, with fans treating it as an underrated and forgotten sitcom. But while the show stayed on the air, the production behind it became a story of constant retooling. The series was produced by Touchstone Television and filmed on Stage 14 at CBS Studio Center in front of a live audience. The episodes followed a normal multi-camera sitcom routine with table reads on Fridays and tapings during the week. Ron Levitt and Arthur Silva stayed in charge as executive producers, and the writers' room often included people who had also came from Married with Children. That connection ran deep enough that the show ended up sharing 75 cast and crew credits with that show. As the later seasons went on, the teenage stories around Tiffany and Ryan took up more space, and by later seasons, the series was being retooled around Tiffany because the WB saw her as the show's strongest asset. Then Jennifer was killed off in a tanning bed accident. After that, the show turned her into Dead Mum, a ghost who kept tormenting the family. The idea didn't really work with the audience, so within 2 episodes, the show reversed itself through a metafiction scene where a network executive entered the house and said Dead Mum was no longer dead because the jokes were no longer funny. So Jennifer came back, but the instability didn't end there. Hodge later decided to leave, so Jennifer was written out for good.
Life be good.
Word to your mother.
If you knew where she was.
By the spring of 1999, the show's ratings had flatlined in the low singles, and the network was shifting its attention towards younger-orientated shows. So the network simply chose not to renew the series after its 5th season. The final episode aired in May '99 and ended with Jack making enough money to send Tiffany to Harvard before his relapse brought back Mr. Floppy. After the series ended, it didn't get the kind of home media life that many long-running shows eventually receive. It never got an official DVD or Blu-ray release, and it also never got picked up by streaming platforms. Online reports suggest rights issues tied to Disney and Touchstone as a possible reason.
Jack, stop insulting yourself. That's my job. Woo! Little house on the prairie.
But the show's legacy carried on through memory, cult interest, and the careers it helped launch. It remained part of the WB's first wave, and over time became the kind of show people brought up as an early network oddity, hidden gem, or a guilty pleasure. While the show did not lead into any spin-offs or movies, it still stayed alive in smaller ways. Mr. Floppy remained the strangest thing people remember about the series, and the Ray Charles theme stayed tied to the show. Later retrospectives kept bringing it back as one of those 90s sitcoms that felt meaner, stranger than most of what surrounded it. Its legacy also carried forward through the cast. Nikki Cox later went on to Las Vegas, Kevin Connolly became closely tied to Entourage, Justin Burfield moved on to Malcolm in the Middle, and Jeff Pearson kept building a long career. As for my own view on it, I've only watched very few episodes in order to make the video. For me, the biggest thing was Mr. Floppy. It gives the series something much stranger and much more original. Jack and Mr. Floppy together was some of the funniest stuff in the episodes I watched. I do understand why people compare it to Married with Children, but I also think that comparison only goes so far because the show did feel like it was making fun of that kind of sitcom and a lot of other shows around that time. But even with that, there's still something about it that gives it its own identity. It's not a polished series, and it's not for everyone, but the rabbit and the nasty tone make it stand out. It's also the kind of show that would probably trigger a lot of people today, which is part of why it still gets remembered as an early WB curiosity and a cult item for a lot of viewers. Next time, we take a look at another classic series. Until then, why don't you check out our previous video on Lois and Clark? Thanks for watching, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.